Good morning to all you teachers-to-be out there. On today's episode of Improving Adolescent Literacy, we're talking about setting students up for successful note-taking. In their book on literacy, Douglas Fisher and Nancy Frey argue that teachers must not only teach students how to take good notes, but also organize their lectures in a sequential way and introduce the sequence of topics for the day's class. Quite right, Miss F. But before we delve any deeper into note-taking, we must distinguish it from note-making. Note-taking is when students write down information from a lecture or a class discussion, whereas note-making is when a reader records notes from printed materials. Both of these techniques improve comprehension and retention, and assessing a student's notes can give a teacher insight on how their students think and interact with the material. Good point, Rachel. Let's hear from some current teachers and what they're doing to use notes in their content areas. First, we have Ms. Herrera's English class.
Thank you, ladies. In my classroom, I use a technique called Dictogloss, which helps my students practice taking notes from spoken English. First, I have my students listen to a text 3 times. After the 3rd time, their challenge is to recreate the text as accurately as possible. After attempting to recreate the text verbatim twice, they can get into pairs to work with another student. Dictogloss forces my students to become better note takers and listeners, and when I collect the notes I give them feedback to help improve their notes, such as visuals and graphics.
Thanks, Ms. Herrera. What a great tool. Next, let's go to math with Ms. Williams.
Hi there. I use an outline framework for note-taking with my students so they can refer back to their notes throughout the class. For each vocab term in the chapter, students use a quadrant of a piece of notebook paper. We talk about the roots, synonyms, examples, and definitions of each word. At the end of my class, we've built a word wall together, and each student has their very own mathematical glossary.
Wow! Thanks for all that information, Ms. Williams. It sounds like your students are definitely being set up for success. Next, we'll hear how Ms. Tsai helps her students with note-taking in history.
Thank you. I use a technique called DNA with my students, in which they use a structured, split-page format, self-questioning, and in which I teach them directly the notating process. Then, throughout class, I ask my students to recall their notes through various questioning techniques.
Wonderful! Thank you, Ms. Tsai. Now we'll go to science with Ms. Butler. Ms. Butler, how do you use the note-taking strategy in your content?
Well, Rachel, I actually connect note-taking to the research process in my content. Students get into groups and practice recording resources in the proper fashion, following written instructions and a sample bibliography. When they've finished, they've experienced documenting a wide variety of resources, and they're ready to begin researching their report.
Great use of notes, Ms. Butler. But how might a specials teacher use note-taking? Let's go to Ms. Samuelson's Life Skills class to find out. I use the very common Cornell note system to promote safety and mature discussion in my class. I believe structured note-taking not only gives students a chance to categorize important information, but also provides them with options to deal with awkward or embarrassing feelings. Well, I think we've all learned a lot about note-taking. Hope you all can use our strategies, and we'll see you next time on Improving Adolescent Literacy.